Welcome to MyESAT's SAT Essentials video series. This is a 10-hour video, personally paced SAT program that's designed to provide quality SAT preparation to all students. The series is split evenly between the three sections of the SAT: math, writing, and critical reading. The lectures cover effective SAT test-taking strategies, review frequently tested topics, and provide practice problems that familiarize and prepare students for the real exam. The SAT Essentials video course is the foundation for all MyESAT courses and is used in conjunction with live MyESAT workshops. At MyESAT, our mission is to pave the way for brighter futures empowered by education for all students.
Okay, awesome. This is our last writing video in the SAT Essentials video series. Our time together just flew by, didn't it? Gosh, you kids grow up so fast, pretty soon you won't even need me anymore. I mean, tear. Today's writing class is uber important. It's so important I had to pull out a big German word just to describe it to you. Because today we're going to go over 4 of the most common grammar errors on the SAT. You ready? I want to remind you that all of these practice questions are medium leveled, so they're not super easy and they're not super hard. If you want to get questions that are exactly your level, check out one of our live focus workshops. Also remember, hit the pause button anytime you need an extra moment to jot a note, to think quietly to yourself, to read a question, to scream, any of those things. And if you want me to repeat something, just raise your hand. No, I'm kidding. Don't raise your hand. Hit rewind because this is a video course. Right now, go ahead and grab your lucky notebook and pencil because today you will be taking notes. Hit pause if you need to. Okay, I can see that you're ready now. Nice. Drum roll, please. It's go time. Say hello to Kenji again. Look at him all ready with his sign. What a good guy. So now let's take a look at our agenda for the next hour. We're going to devote today's lecture to reviewing the 3 most common grammar errors on this test. And those would be verb errors, pronoun errors, and misplaced modifiers. So let's get started. Here's Kenji again reminding us that if we're ever moving a tad bit too fast, you can hit that pause button or that rewind button. You own the pacing of this lecture. So don't work to stay with the pace. Instead, why don't you make the pace work with you? Okay, so let me start by giving you some insider information. And shh, this is top secret. There are only a total of 10 different types of grammar errors that the SAT generally tests you on. That's it! Only 10. That means you have as many fingers on your 2 hands as there are grammar errors you have to dominate in order to ace the SATs. And if you're looking down at your fingers right now like I am, you'll notice 10 is not that many. I have faith in all of you. These same 10 grammar errors are repackaged and recycled through every SAT, but using different words in somewhat different formats. However, once you really get the hang of these 10 common errors, you will dominate the writing section like King Kong to the Empire State Building. See what I did there? That was an analogy. And yeah, we like those. In today's lecture, we're going to hit up the top 3 out of the 10 errors. These 3 are the ones that repeat and recycle and reuse the very most. Practice these 3 and you will watch your writing score climb. The first one up to bat is the verb errors. So these are the most common grammar errors on the SAT. If you recall way back from writing 1, a great strategy for the writing section is to first check all verbs and pronouns in the sentence to make sure they match the subject of the sentence. And that's because verb and pronoun errors are just so common. First of all, what is a verb? Well, come on, you know what a verb is. Verbs are words like eat, walk, and sleep. But what about words like am or is? Well, yes, those are verbs too. Verbs are action words. They tell you what action the subject of the sentence is doing. So yes, am and is are verbs because they denote a state of being. Like, I am here, or the soup is salty. One of the reasons why SAT test makers love verb errors so much is that there are more ways a verb can go wrong than Lindsay Lohan's career. And that is a lot of ways. But of all the verb errors out there, there are really only 3 types of verb errors. And we're going to go over all of them right now. The sentence reads, "Delivery of today's newspapers and magazines have been delayed." So, what's the problem here? It's a subject-verb agreement error. When you read it out loud, it doesn't sound that bad, does it? In fact, when people like you and I are just talking, we say stuff like this all the time. And so does everyone, your English teacher, Anderson Cooper, and your future college professors. So yes, this is a hard error to pick up on, because it sounds so good. So it's a good thing you're getting tipped off on it right now. So let's go over the sentence. Step 1 is to find the verb. So what do you think the verb is here? That's easy, right? The verb here is the word have. You might be thinking to yourself, have is a plural verb. If that's what crosses your mind first, then great. Now, step 2, let's find the subject of this sentence. I'll give you a moment to ponder this quietly. The subject is delivery. And the second part of step 2 is to make sure the verb matches the subject. Okay, so write that step down. I bet some of you thought the subject would be newspapers and magazines. But be careful now. The words of today's newspaper and magazines is actually a prepositional phrase. Prepositional what now? Prepositional phrases describe the subject, but they are not the subject. For example, in the sentence, the prepositional phrase tells you what kind of delivery it is, but the actual subject is still the delivery. These prepositional phrases are pesky little things like cobwebs and flies, and 80% of the time they are there just to confuse you. So please, do yourself a favor and cross off prepositional phrases when you see them. Cross them off just like you see it on the screen. Okay, and now we get to the crux of the issue, because now the sentence reads, delivery have been delayed. And now everybody, your mom, your dad, even your 3-year-old sister, knows that this is an incorrect sentence. And that's because delivery is a singular subject. So we have an error here. The verb is plural, but the subject is singular. So how do we write this wrong? Well, here are the solutions, and you should be copying these down. Either you change the verb to a singular has in order to match the subject. That sentence would read, delivery of today's newspapers and magazines has been delayed. Or alternatively, you can change the subject to be plural in order to match the verb. And that would be the second sentence on the screen, which reads, deliveries of today's newspapers and magazines have been delayed. So you see, either both verb and subject have to be singular, or both have to be plural. Either way you go, the two have to agree. But you can also see from this sample sentence, sometimes the hardest part of identifying these verb errors is finding the actual subject. Do not let prepositional phrases confuse you. Okay, so moving right along, we're going to work on our second type of verb error now. Let's take a look at this sentence. It says, when I finally arrived at the doctor's office, the swelling has already gone down. Do you see anything wrong with this sentence? Well, I'll tell you. This is a verb tense error. What is a verb tense error, you ask? Let's see. Did you notice that the first verb in the sentence is arrived, as in past tense, as in I've already arrived? But then, oddly, the second verb is has, which, oh my god, is present tense. So the tenses don't match. And that is just like a whole bunch of drama, because that is not okay. Until the day time travel is invented and you can conceivably arrive at the doctor's office in the past, and then suddenly jump to the present where you're still in the doctor's office, still with a swollen body part. Well, until that day comes and we finally change the grammar rules, this sentence can never be correct. So to correct the sentence, we must change both verbs to past tense. The sentence would look like this. When I finally arrived at the doctor's office, the swelling had already gone down. Okay, perfect. Both in past tense now, and it all makes sense without needing time travel. Okay, so we're going to move along and finish off verb errors strong with the third and last type of verb error. Let's read this sentence. Tom likes traveling because it clears his mind, keeps him active, and to explore new places. Well, Tom sounds like an awesome guy, but what's wrong with this sentence? Kind of like Bill Clinton under oath, you just know there's something wrong here. This sentence is an example of verb form error. We can see that the first two verbs in the comma series are in the present form. But the last verb is in what we call the infinitive form. Now don't you worry about these fancy terms. You don't need to know those. But what you do need to be able to do is see that one of these verbs don't belong. This type of error happens when you see sentences with lists of items, but the items in the list don't match each other in form. Remember, we always want to maintain parallel structure in sentences. Whenever you have a list in the sentence, we want every item in the list to be in the same form. On the screen, we see the correct sentence. It reads, Tom likes traveling because it clears his mind, keeps him active, and allows him to explore new places. Great, so now all the verbs are in the same form. They're all in the present form. Alright kids, so we just pummeled through the types of verb errors. You're going to see these same 3 verb errors rehashed and repackaged multiple times on every single SCT. So I hope you were able to take a long, hard look at the enemy, because you're going to see them again and again in different disguises. If you need a moment now to reread your notes or repeat the verb errors, take your time. Hit pause, hit rewind, whatever you need to really learn. Otherwise, the rest of us are going to hit up a couple practice problems. You have 45 seconds for this first question. Alright, time to go over the answer. So, my first step is to identify the verb, right? Well, what's the verb? The word is the verb. And like we covered earlier, is a verb. Now the second step is to find the subject. So where's the subject? This here can be a little bit tricky. Did you think the subject was people? I can see why you would think that, but nope, it is not people. You see, people are the ones who give the reasons, but it's actually the reasons that are the true subjects. Let's think about it. The reasons are what's being given. The reasons are people having demanding assignments and not having enough time. Therefore, reasons is the true subject here. Now here's where it gets all exciting, 'cause reasons is obviously plural. That's what the little s at the end of the sentence means. But you knew that, duh. And that's why there's so much drama, because is singular. Oh my god! You can't have a plural subject in a singular verb. So obviously, we're going to have to change one of them. The verb is part of the underlined portion of the sentence, So we're going to have to change it into something plural like are. Looking at the answer choices, right off the bat, I want to cross off A and D because those answer choices start with the word is. Out of the remaining answer choices, answer choice C is the correct answer. And this is because answer choice C corrects the verb error and it maintains the parallel sentence structure. Okay, let me show you what I mean. Answer choice C reads, the main reasons people give for not spending time with family are that they have demanding assignments and that they don't have enough time. You see how that sentence really has a list with 2 items in it? The 2 items being that they have demanding assignments at work and that they don't have enough time. And now answer choice C corrects the sentence so the 2 items in the list have parallel structure. That means they both start with that they. Conversely, however, answer choice B and E suffer from a lack of parallel structure, and there is no cure for that. Now let's take a look at another practice problem. I'll give you another 45 seconds. Time's up. The question reads, also supported by the board of the company was the proposal for extended vacation time and the request to distribute information on job training opportunities. So what's my first step here? Well, it's to identify the verb. The verb is was. But what does the verb refer to? What's the subject here? Is it the board of the company? Is it the proposal? Well, yes, both. Was refers to the proposal and the request. And that's why we have a problem here. The proposal and the request makes it a plural subject. Therefore, we need the word were. And that's why answer choice B is the correct answer. Alright team, so that's it now for verb errors. And that wasn't so bad, was it? We'll cover all verb errors more in depth in our live focus workshop titled Writing Concepts. Right now, we only have 9 more errors to go. So what's next? It's pronoun errors. That's right. All the little pieces are coming together now, like pieces in a puzzle. First of all, what is a pronoun? Well, it's all those little words in a sentence like me, he, or she. These words refer to another subject. Whether you know it or not, you use pronouns every day, and you use them automatically and instinctively, more than Italians use cheese. This here is a nifty chart of pronouns. So go ahead and jot these down. I'll give you a moment. However, it is my guess that you already know them all. So it seems easy enough, right? What can possibly go wrong with pronouns? Well, three main ways, my friends. It's a holy trinity of pronoun errors. And right now, we're going to start with the father. Let's take a look at this suspicious sentence together. Everyone in the class walked home with their backpack. This sentence illustrates one of the ways that a pronoun can go wrong. But it sounds like something we'd hear in everyday life, right? It sounds like something I would say, I know. But surprise, surprise, it's actually incorrect. This is what we call pronoun agreement error. Write that down. Pronoun agreement error is when pronouns don't agree to the subjects. Problems with this simple rule occur when there are words like everyone, anybody, and each. That's because these words sound plural, but they're actually singular. These are trickster words, looking all plural but actually being single. You gotta love the English language. So actually, the correct way to write this sentence is this. Everyone in the class walked home with her backpack. There are other trickster words too, and you need to be able to spot them all. So get your pencils ready. I want you to jot down these tricksters. Anytime you see one of these words, a red flag should shoot right up. The SAT loves to test you on these words. So as soon as you see one, immediately check the sentence to make sure all verbs and pronouns relating to it is actually singular. That's right, don't forget, you need to check the verbs as well as the pronouns. Make sure that they are both singular. A good way to help you remember these words is this simple rule of thumb. All words ending in one, thing, and body are singular. That's a neat little trick I try to remember. Think you got it? Well, let's look at some example sentences. Everybody in Texas is so friendly. Whoever wrote this must have never seen Friday Night Lights. Am I right? But you can see how we use the word everybody, and therefore we also use a singular verb is. Next sentence. Every student took his book to class with him. Okay, got it? It's not every student took their book. Instead, it's every student took his book, because every is singular. Anything he said was a lie. Anything is also, you guessed it, it's singular. Nothing, neither the buildings nor the people, ever changes around here. Kinda sounds like they're talking about my hometown. Well, again, nothing is singular. Last one. Each of the teammates performs her own role. You see, each is singular as well, so it's always each performs her role or his role, but never each performs their role. Got it? These are all examples of singular words, but they are tricky because they sound like they would be plural. Don't get sucked into their lies. You have been warned. Next up, we're going to move on to our second sentence, which represents our second type of pronoun error. It reads, when I walk my dog in that neighborhood, you must follow a very strict leash law. Does something sound a little bit off there? Well, it should. The error is called pronoun point of view shift. And that happens when the pronouns shift within a sentence. For example, in this sentence, I say, when I walk my dog in that neighborhood, But then I suddenly change it to say, you must follow a very strict leash law. So which is it? Is it I or is it you? Who's walking? Who's following the strict leash law? Because you see, pronouns must be in the same person throughout a sentence. You don't want to go flip-flopping them from first person to second person or to third person. This is how you would correct the sentence. A correct sentence would read, when you walk your dog in that neighborhood, you must follow a very strict leash law. You see how now the pronouns are all in second person. We're all talking about you now. You're walking, it's your dog, and you're following a strict leash law. Alright, so now we're going to take a look at our last type of pronoun error. The sentence here reads, the university presented the honor to David and he. But David and he? Does that sound right? Gosh, sometimes it's really hard to tell. But in this case, it's not right. And the error is called pronoun case error. And it happens when the case is wrong. But what do you mean? What's a pronoun case? And how can it go wrong? Well, I'll give you a clue. The correct sentence would read, the university presented the honor to David and him. Okay, now you see the difference. It's David and him, not David and he. So that's the pronoun case. But you don't have to remember the fancy terms. Instead, you just have to be able to recognize the error. And I'm going to show you a pretty cool trick to help you always figure out which pronoun case is correct. And what's really cool about this trick is you don't really have to learn or memorize anything. You just have to apply this neat little tactic called separate and conquer. Any of you who play video games knows that it's easier to beat the enemy if you separate up his forces and take them piece by piece. By dividing up your pronouns, you can get a better look at each one. Let me show you with the same example. The sentence, the university presented the honor to David and he. Okay, I'm going to separate the sentence out on the screen, but as you get used to it, you're probably going to just do it in your head. Now there are two sentences, and the first one reads, the university presented the honor to David. Okay, that sounds good. The second sentence reads, the university presented the honor to he. And that definitely doesn't sound right, does it? It really should be, the university presented the honor to him. You see how much easier it is to detect these case errors with your ears as soon as you separate the pronouns? Before separating the two pronouns, the sentence sounded like it might be okay. But now, it's as clear as day that it is not okay. Now it's time for a little practice. We're going to go over a couple questions starting with this one. I'll give you 45 seconds. Time's up! Did you get answer choice D? Well, I hope not, because that's not the correct answer. The correct answer is E. In this sentence, what does the pronoun there refer to? Well, it refers to the television show Friends, which coincidentally is a singular noun. So therefore, we need a singular pronoun. Scanning the answer choices, I can immediately eliminate A and B because those answer choices still use the pronoun there. Next, we can eliminate answer choice C and D because that uses the plural pronoun they, and we already know that we want a singular one. Answer choice E is the correct answer. It is the most concise and clear without changing the meaning of the sentence. Okay, so answer choice E is the correct answer. Now let's try another question. I'll give you another 45 seconds. Time's up! So, did you manage to divide and conquer? Well, I hope so, because nothing is more boring than a bunch of mathematicians together. Just ask our math teacher Ryan. He'll tell you. If you did divide and conquer the sentence correctly, the two parts will look something like this. A study conducted by him and a study conducted by the committee. Both pieces of that sentence sound fine, which is why E is the correct answer. There is no error here. And that's it for pronouns today. Woohoo, not too bad, right? I'm giving you the core concepts right now, but it's still up to you to review and practice. So sign up for our live focus workshop titled Writing Concepts for more practice. Okay, so you got that? Modifiers are simply phrases that modify a noun. Let's take a look at a couple example sentences. Looking at the first sentence, it writes, "Walking quickly, I rush home." In this sentence, the words highlighted in yellow, which is walking quickly, are the modifiers. And the subject is right after the modifier. It is the word I. So that means I'm the one that's walking quickly. Walking quickly is modifying what I'm doing. The thing about modifying phrases is they need to be placed right next to the word they're modifying. Remember, when it comes to introductory phrases, modifiers are kind of like the money trail in a murder case. And if I learned anything from CSI, I know that if you follow the money trail to the end, you'll find the murderer. Same thing here. If you follow the modifying phrase all the way to the end, you always find the true subject on the other side of the comma. So remember, we always want to put the subject of the modifier right next to the modifier. Okay, so now let's take a look at the second sentence. It reads, "Handsome and charming, Alex is popular at parties." So kind of like the same deal as before, the first part of the sentence highlighted in yellow is the modifier. And the subject is the word right after the modifier, the word Alex. So it's Alex that's handsome and charming. Okay, let's go to the third sentence. It reads, Quaint and lively, the little town is a perfect place to get away. You probably know the drill by now. The first part of the sentence highlighted in yellow is the modifier, and the subject is right after the modifier. So, the little town is the subject, and it's the little town that is quaint and lively. So now you're probably thinking, hey, what's the big deal? Modifiers look pretty easy. And yes, they are. But let's take a look at an example of a misplaced modifier. Okay, so the sentence reads, quickly changing into his sneakers, Tom's dog dragged him to the park. I'll give you a second to think about this, but try to pinpoint what the modifier is and what the subject is. And then think about whether that's what the subject should be. Okay, got it? All right, so the modifier in this sentence is the first part again, which is quickly changing into his sneakers. And the subject of the sentence is right after the modifier, which is Tom's dog. But does that make sense? Would a dog really be able to change quickly into his sneakers? The answer is probably not. Most likely the author is talking about Tom changing into his sneakers and not Tom's dog. When you see a sentence like this, which really doesn't make a whole lot of sense, you're probably looking at a misplaced modifier. So how would you correct this sentence? Here's a possible way you would correct it. You could write, quickly changing into his sneakers, comma, Tom took his dog to the park. Okay, great. So now in this sentence, we kind of turn around the last part, placing Tom right after the modifier. So now it's Tom that's quickly changing into his sneakers. And that makes a whole lot more sense. On the SAT, we're always going to go in the direction of the more logical sentence. All right, you think you got it? Well, let's try a sample SCT question. I'll give you 45 seconds. Time's up. Ready or not, we're going to go over the answer. The correct answer to question 1 is answer choice E. The sentence reads, persuading even the most reluctant video game enthusiasts to spend hours playing. The effect of Blizzard Entertainment's War of Warcraft is to make the art of war fun. So what is the modifier here? The yellow highlighting probably gives it away. So now think to yourself, what exactly is persuading even the most reluctant video game enthusiasts to spend hours playing? Is it the effects? Or is it the game War of Warcraft? Probably War of Warcraft. That's what's making all these gamers spend all these hours playing. So now we know we want to shift this sentence somehow so that War of Warcraft appears immediately after the modifier. Okay, because that would make it the subject. And we want the subject right after the modifier. Scanning through the answer choices, I can see that only answer choice E correctly fixed this misplaced modifier. Okay, here's another question. I'll give you another 45 seconds to see if you can't knock this one out. And time's up. Question 2 is a tricky question because it's a twist on the traditional misplaced modifier. In this sentence, the misplaced modifier is actually at the end of the sentence. Ooh, you didn't know that could happen, did you? Well, it can. Although misplaced modifiers are usually at the beginning of the sentence, sometimes modifiers can pop up in the middle or at the end of a sentence, so you really gotta watch out for that. In fact, every time you see a comma in a sentence, you have to think to yourself, maybe it's a modifier. A comma is a clue that maybe a modifier is there, so definitely check that out if you see a comma. Question 2 reads, many of the household tools and items in use today were adaptations of equipment used in prehistoric times, particularly the hammer. You see, just reading that sentence, it sounds okay, doesn't it? It really does. Because this is the way you and I might talk. But you really have to watch out for these sneaky misplaced modifiers. In this sentence, particularly the hammer is the modifier. So now you have to think, what is it modifying exactly? What is particularly the hammer? Well, it's probably modifying household tools and items, right? A hammer is a household tool. We are probably not modifying prehistoric times because a hammer is not a type of prehistoric time. That just does not make sense. So remember, we always want to put the subject of the modifier right next to the modifier, whether the modifier is in the beginning of the sentence or the end. That same rule applies. So knowing that, I can cross off A, B, and E because those three don't fix the misplaced modifier. And that leaves me with answer choice C and D. And then answer choice C has a verb error. In answer choice C, we use the word was. Do you see that? Right after the comma in answer choice C, it says was an adaptation of equipment. But we're talking about plural items. We're saying many of the household tools and items. So therefore, the singular was is incorrect, making answer choice D the correct answer. So you see, this is definitely one of the harder questions because it's testing you on two errors, misplaced modifiers and verb errors. And that's all, folks, for misplaced modifiers. You think you're kind of getting the hang of it? Don't forget, for more practice and help, check out our live focus workshop titled Writing Concepts. But this is an exciting time for us now because you get to lower one more finger. So that's 3 down and 7 more to go. Which, if you think about it, is pretty awesome because you've been watching this lecture for what? About 40 minutes? So with a little more than 10 minutes per error, you're making tremendous strides in improving your writing score. Woo, so we're done. And good job for finishing all the lectures in the writing section. So this is the last homework you're ever going to get from me. Yay, right? You've been waiting for this moment. When you finish all the video lectures in this series, go ahead and take practice test 4 from the official study guide by College Board. And when you're done with that, we haven't abandoned you. You could always come back to us and check out our live workshop called Practice Test 4, where we're going to show you how to solve the questions you got wrong, as well as answer any remaining questions you might have. So good luck, guys. I know you'll knock it out of the park. Now, our time together has come to an end. But that doesn't mean the party's got to stop, because there's always an after party, right? And then the hotel lobby after that. No, I'm just kidding. But do come join us for the after party in one of our live writing focus workshops. We'll cover 10 of the most common grammar errors on the SAT and practice the ones we learned today in focus workshop titled Writing Concepts. So, goodbye for now. I wish all of you the best of luck in your SAT journey and in college and in life. If you have any questions or comments, feel free to email me at dorothy@myesct.com. Until then, remember, everyone improves on SAT with preparation. Katanas are not allowed in the test room. Nerd glasses are cool and relax. The SATs are important, but they're not the only thing colleges look at. Not even close.